everybody. Welcome. This is Uche Maple, your leadership development specialist. And I just want to say welcome to Leap Forward with Uche. We have an amazing person coming on stage, an amazing guest speaker who's going to be giving us a lot of great information in terms of if you are a six-figure business and you're trying to figure out how to scale, project management, program management, how to start a business while you're working. We have an amazing guest coming on to talk to us and give a lot of hints, nuggets, and secrets on how to get your business up and running. But before we go there, just want to say definitely go to our comments where you can register for the 2-hour intensive on how you can have a profitable business with zero experience. Yep, I said it. No gimmicks, no shortcuts. If you're looking for shortcuts, this isn't the event for you, but I want you to come and check us out. Go to the comments, click on the link, and be sure to register. It's coming up February 28th. It's going to be an amazing intensive. As a result of attending this program, you're going to have clarity on who your target audience is. You're going to have clarity on what business model you need to set up. And most of all, you're going to have clarity in terms of how you're going to be shifting from an employee to an entrepreneur in your space. All right. So let's bring on our special guest here. And everyone, I want you to give her a warm welcome. Hey, Cherline.
Hey.
How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Great. How has your year been so far?
Listen, it's 2023. We've been 45 days in, maybe 50 days.
Yep.
It's been fruitful. It's been great. I'm blessed.
Anything that has come up in the last 45 days that you were like, oh my gosh, every day is a new day. Anything earth shattering?
Nothing earth shattering. Nothing earth shattering.
Well, because every day is usually something different happening, right? Especially in the world and even in our own space, right? And we're just like, dang, that was something I wasn't thinking about it, wasn't planning.
Well, since you say that, the Super Bowl.
Okay, what did you think about it?
So I'm not a fan of the actual sport, but I am a fan of the artist who perform, right? So when I saw Rihanna perform, I completely looked at it from a different angle. I wasn't looking at it from a entertainment standpoint. I was looking at it from straight business, and I was such in awe at all the moves that a lot of us don't even realize she did during the performance that is creating a different type of trickle down wealth for her. And I was just taking notes, Uche. I was taking notes. So
they said she was the most watched versus the Super Bowl. And I was like, I love the marketing part too. I was looking at that as well. I love the color scheme. I thought everything was phenomenal. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think people are understanding what they're seeing. This is going to be one of the most iconic moments, probably since what was it? The Jackson incident. And that was in the 80s. Wasn't that in the 80s?
Probably so.
Yeah. So I think that was one of the most iconic moments. I'm excited. That was phenomenal. Okay. So tell everybody who you are, what you do, and give us some great stuff.
Oh, well, I'm Cherline Pierre, CEO and founder of BossBuilding Your Way. I am a mom of 3, wife of 1, Uche, only one. We only need one husband. And what I do is I help entrepreneurs who are working professionals, help them not necessarily leave the 9-to-5 job right now, but help them understand that there is profits in their brilliance, purpose, and potential, and you can build a successful, profitable 6-figure business while you are in the job, so that when you are ready to make the exit, you have all your ducks in a row, while also making sure that you create scalable offers, you create leverage in your business, and you just do things that are aligned to the vision that God has for you.
I love that. So before you went into your own business, how long were you working in, what industry were you in, and how long were you in that industry?
Yeah, so I worked for the federal government for 13 years. Right after graduating college, I was one of those people after 2008 when the market crashed. I had all these wonderful offers, and those offers for corporate America and the big banks were rescinded because the banks no longer existed, right?
Mm.
So the government came swooping in for all us accounting, finance, business majors. And I was able to transition into federal government, did that for 13 years, doing project management, Lean Six Sigma type of process improvement work, doing finance and accounting, auditing, those types of things.
For those of you who are in the engineering field, we all know about Six Sigma. I'm a Six Sigma specialist. So we had to
Oh, I
get,
didn't know that.
yeah, on the production floor. So I started out on the production
Oh,
floor. And of course,
wow.
right, with the lean methodologies, now it has
Mhm.
changed. This has been over 20 years.
Yeah.
But in order, everyone had to become Six Sigma compliant. It's always something
Oh,
though.
wow. It
Yeah, but all of
is.
us have to become Six Sigma compliant. So I haven't
Yeah.
heard that in a long time. Did you ever become a Six Sigma green belt
Yeah, I'm
or
a green belt. Mhm.
okay, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did
Was
you
not interested in doing the black belt. That
is
was
that
too
the
much
next level?
legwork. Say it again.
Is that the next level? The
Yeah.
black belt is the next
Yep.
level.
Black.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this. What if people who are interested in saying, you know what, I think I might want to become my own Six Sigma person outside of my workplace. Is that even feasible for someone to do?
What do you mean? Explain that.
Meaning they become a Six Sigma consultant.
Oh, absolutely. As
Mhm.
long as you go through your training and you pass your test or whatever the exam is, you'll get the certification. But one thing I like to tell people is that experience is going to be your best friend, and tying it with maybe like a PMP, a project management professional, that certification, it just makes everything, in my opinion, come to life. And being a type of consultant, if you choose to go down that route, that understands project management and how process improvements and looking for risk and looking for ways to make things more effective and efficient, how it fits into a process or a project in anything that you're doing in life and business. So if you can put those two things together, it's a great field, a
Mhm.
career to
Mhm.
go into, but it's also an easy way to translate those skill sets into your own business to be your own consultant.
Wow. So you're PMP
Hmm.
certified as well? Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
Oh,
Okay.
Uche.
Okay. How long did you have to do training to get your PMP cert? Is it PMP certification?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you taking me back to the days. I want to say their requirement is, and it may have changed, but their requirement is maybe 3 to 5 years of experience doing it, um, with a bachelor's degree. But requirements change all the time. But when I graduated college and moved into the government space, I started doing project management and process improvement. And I just wanted a methodology, a way to make what I was doing make sense so that I could tell a story and help management make better decisions with the data that I
Mhm.
was collecting, with the story I wanted to tell.
Mhm.
So for me, it probably took about three years of getting experience. And then I sat for the exam, and I'm one of the lucky ones. I passed on the first shot, but I studied, y'all. I
Congrats.
studied and I paid attention, and that was really a passion of mine. And that
Mm.
exam is not easy.
Wow. So you graduated, you have your undergrad in
Yeah.
business?
Yes, I have my MBA concentration in finance.
Okay. And when you went into the federal government, you did Six Sigma specialist and you got your PMP certification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So I got to ask, because this is what I'm asking this question, because this is what I've seen and I've gotten asked
Mhm.
this question
Yeah.
a lot, especially in the career development space.
Mhm.
Do you think that women, um, do you think that at times we have a tendency to become overqualified in the space we're in? Why are you looking? Why are you looking like that? I gotta ask because I get asked that question all the time.
Well, I'm going to flip it a little bit. It's not that we are overqualified. We don't realize how qualified we are, and because of that, we don't even go out for the positions that we're qualified for, right? So yes, women, we get all these degrees, we get all these letters behind our names, we have all these certs that make us great and powerful, and we feel overqualified, and we don't even apply for the things that are created just for us. And we allow people who are less qualified, who think they are qualified, go after it, and then we get upset because they got the job and now they're our boss, and we got to train our boss who knows nothing, right? So did that answer your question?
It did.
So,
it did.
Yeah.
No, it did. And this is what the viewers are going to want to know, because just the fact that you have your master's and bachelor's and you have these certifications, which is going to lead up to the question is, what made you decide to transition out of your industry and start your own business as a result of having all of these amazing qualifications?
There's a few things. There's a few things. One, the reason why I even thought about going into business, because it was never a thought into being an entrepreneur, honestly, until I was passed over for a position that was literally created for me. It was created for me because I was told, if you apply for this position, you're going to get it. We're going to create this position for you, right? So when I did not get the position, and you guys are probably very aware of this, you're doing the job without the title. You're doing the other assigned duties without the pay and all the other things at the workplace. So when the job came, applied for it, they changed their mind. They changed their mind because my location wasn't where they wanted the position to sit, because they were trying to grow or scale to different geographies. So because my location, physical location, was inconvenient for where they wanted to go, they gave the position to someone who I believed in, who others believed were not as qualified for the position. So when that took place, Uche, I'm one of those people where I want to know, like, what could I have done better? What did I miss in the interview? So I asked to have a conversation with the person responsible for hiring, the hiring official. Although it was a panel, you always have the one person who is the director of the whole organization who says the yes or no. So I asked him to have a conversation, and Uche, let me tell you, he said this is the first time that someone asked him to have a conversation about why they were not selected for a position. And I said, are you really, out of your 30 years working for the government, this is the first time that someone, okay? So I said, oh, no problem. I still want the meeting though, sir. Okay.
Black women, we are always the first one to do something.
You know? So we had the meeting, and Uche, he could not look me in my eyes. He kept looking down in the whole conversation saying, you were really great. Like, you were one of the best. It was so close. And it's exactly what he was saying. You're so close. It was just so close. It was so close. You know, you don't have to leave. And he's not looking at me as we're talking. Yeah. And I never thought about leaving until he said, you don't have to leave. And I was like, why did you say that? So that put the seed.
He planted
in
the
my
seed.
Head. Yes, he planted the seed. And then we talked some more about it. And then, Uche, I cried, not in front of him, but at driving home, I cried. In the shower, I cried. And then 2 weeks went by, and I had this epiphany. I said, thank you, Lord. Thank you, because I've learned my lesson. Thank you for using this as the opportunity for me to learn the lesson. And Uche, the lesson that I learned was that I, a person of faith, put my faith, my belief, my whole everything into a man, a person, a human being who will always have to make decisions that are going to be in the best interest of a company. you have to make the best decision that's in the best interest of your firm, your business, your company,
Yep.
regardless of how it lands or how it feels for the parties involved, right? There are
Mm-hmm.
people right now getting laid off by the thousands, right?
Yes.
But a
Yep.
company has to make decisions for the best interest of the company, the vision, the direction, and those investors,
Yep.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I realized that, I had to like say, Lord, I forgive me, but I will never allow an
Mm-hmm.
individual to dictate my value. I will never again allow a person, an individual, to determine my potential, to
Mm-hmm.
determine what seat I have at the table,
Yeah.
to determine my title, to determine my impact, to determine how I serve. Like I will never do it again. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
that situation there is what planted the seed, is what had me to think twice about the fact that as I went through school, getting degrees, working, that I was literally allowing people to sit in the passenger seat of my life.
Yeah. Oof.
Everybody was sitting in the passenger seat of my life and had a say in what school I went, what degree I got, what certification I got, what job I got, what table I sat at, what I could say when I was at the table. And I just said, no more. No more will I allow someone to even dictate if I take leave, if I can be sick to take my kids to the doctor, if I just choose not to go to work, or if I want to take 2 weeks off and I have to ask you permission to take 2 weeks off when you on vacation yourself. Make that make sense, right? So I said a lot.
No, that's great because typically with people with federal jobs, they don't leave. You can be there like forever. So the fact that you left, it had to be, in my opinion, a spiritual epiphany, because that's not something that we come to resolve in an absolute way and then move forward on that.
And thank you for bringing that up. That is huge. You're right. Getting a good government job paying you multiple six figures. First, let me just say this: we work hard as government workers. Okay, there's this thing out here saying y'all don't work. We work hard. I was working 50 hours, 55 hours. Like we work. Okay, so I want to like take that misconception out the way. Like
Mhm,
we work hard,
mhm.
but um I remember when I made it known that I was leaving, right? So I made it known I was leaving, and it was a 13-year mark. And I remember someone who was maybe about 5 years older than me, mid 40s. They said, Cherline, they were serious. They were serious. Cherline, are you really leaving your good government job?
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah. They were like, how many years did you work in government so far? I said 13. Uche, when she dropped this, she dropped a mic that she will never understand. She dropped in my spirit that will not have me look back. She said, but Charlene, you only have 17 more years to go. Are
Oh,
you sure?
Jesus.
I was like, I thanked her. I said, thank you for saying that, because you reminded me that I have 17 more years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years to stop allowing my good to be the enemy of my greatness. Thank
Ooh,
you for that. I
ooh,
needed that, you know?
ooh,
Yeah.
ooh. You just gave me the shivers. No, because that was a word right there. When you quantify it, it means something completely different.
Yeah.
Um, and you know how, I don't know about you, but when we all started in corporate, I remember saying, I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna leave at 40. I'm gonna give myself 20 years. I remember saying it. I
Me
was saying
too.
that. And I was trying to get my 401k, and it was like, well, if you want to leave at 40, you're gonna have all this. And I something like that happened too, where somewhere in my 30s, someone has said, oh, I'm retiring. And I was like, oh, that is so great. and they said, "How old are you?" And I remember saying, "Oh, I think I'm 35." It's like, "Oh, you have 25 more years left." And that was the moment. And it's like 20. And I remember saying, "The devil is a lie." I'm not going to be here for 25 years. But when I collectively looked at everyone around me and even myself, I was like, well, you've already been here 15, right? So it's not that it's this absurd logic. It's
Exactly.
real. It's just that what you want and what you realize and see is not being here for another 25 years or wasting time away. So I'm thank goodness for her. It's funny how different things come from different people, which make us
Absolutely.
go into our next. So how was that transition?
Scary.
What does that look like? No, what does scary look like?
I it's funny you asked that question because when I was going through the process, I was talking to my cousin about it, and he asked me, "Well, how do you feel? Like the truth? How do you feel?" And I didn't even leave yet. Okay, this was maybe like 2 months before I said anything to anybody at the workplace, and I told him, "I feel like I'm dying. I feel like I'm grieving, not dying. I feel like I'm grieving." Um, and I don't know why I feel like I'm grieving. Like I feel like I'm losing something, and I don't know how to like articulate the feelings into words to express how my heart feels, how my gut feels, right? And then we continued to have a conversation, and he said, "You're grieving because you don't know the person you're about to become, who you are now, who you became, what school has created, what the job has created, who you are today, now, while still in your 9 to 5, is what you grew up to become, is what was expected of you. This is the person you've nurtured, the person you've created, right? So now you're going into a different season where you have to kind of like become a different person. You have to become the person who this new vision you have is called for. And because you have no clue, no idea what that person looks like or what it's going to take to become that person, because this is uncharted new territory for me, that's why you're grieving. You're grieving the loss of who you were because you don't know who you're about to become." And it felt like that. It just felt like I was grieving, like I lost someone.
Yeah.
So that was hard.
I can relate. I felt like I had an identity crisis.
Mm.
That was the best way I could describe it when I retired after 22 years, because I no longer had the title and I no longer had the company's name behind me. So now I'm standing on my own merit. Even though you have all this experience, all these degrees, you know that you are a high performer, right? You know all this. It's been said. And so I think this year, I left in September 2021. I believe this year is when I'm finally standing into myself. But I had an identity crisis. And the reason why I asked is what a scary look like is when your transition is, how were you able to step into your new space?
Honestly, I found a coach, and they weren't a coach per se. Like they weren't your regular traditional coach like you hear in the online space. They were someone that specifically helped people who were in operational roles, who are project managers, who were HR directors and leadership of some sort. They helped them translate their skills into the online market. And when I was able to translate my skills to the online market, that's what gave me the momentum to be like, I can make money anywhere. Like money is truly limitless. It's a resource. It's like a tree. It grows on trees. It literally does. We just have to figure out how to attract it to us. We have to figure out how do we translate our skill sets from the 9 to 5, because we are the smartest people on the planet, the most degreed women, right? How do we translate that into something that gives impact and value to other people, because it's there. So the person who I invested in, they helped me see how my project management skills, my finance skills, all the skills that I brought, the degree, certification, how do I package that into an offer? And when I sold my first offer, I was done. I was like, is that easy? I was done. But for me, everybody's not going to get that automatically. I'll be honest. It could take some people 3 months, a year, 2 years. It is a process, because there's lots of things that you have to be willing to put on the chopping block and master certain skill sets. Like, I realized during the process that I wasn't as good as I thought I was at the 9 to 5. So I had to be at certain things. So I had to be willing to master certain things. And through the mastery of certain things, it built character, right? And I had to realize that in this space, and I'm in this new space, I have to now become a seed again. In the 9 to 5, I was a tree. I was a tree, a firm tree with fruit, okay, at the 9 to 5. But when I moved to the online space, I had to humble myself and say, girl, you a seed. And when you are a seed, you first got to have roots. And you got to do what you need to do to get those roots. And the roots don't grow up, the roots grow down, and people can't see the roots. But the roots are character traits that you have to develop, right? And then you start sprouting like a flower, and you go through the cycles and process, and you become a tree and all that other beautiful jazz. But that's what it looked like for me. I invested in someone who helped me translate my skill sets. I put in the work. It was not easy. I'm not going to lie, because I was still working my 9 to 5 and doing the business at the same time. Yeah. But I had a vision. And I knew that I had potential, and I had purpose, and I knew I was smart, and I was brilliant. Because if I wasn't, I wouldn't be where I was at the 9 to 5. Right. And I was just, I had to remove the cap from limiting myself, in that someone else gave me a compensation plan, and that compensation plan became what I thought was my value. And I was stuck there for a while, until I had to realize that there is no number for my value. I create the number for my value. And I just worked at it. I did it. Mm-hmm. And then I was willing to run the reps, and the reps ain't always easy, and it's not always nice. And the reps sometimes can be at midnight when you work in a 9 to 5 job, when you have a family and other things, right? But I was willing to do what I had to do, because I saw my brilliance. Wow. I saw my potentiality. And then when I made that first sale, I'm telling you, all hats went off. I was like, somebody just paid me more than what I get paid at my job. That was I was working a 6-figure job. Somebody paid me more than what I got paid in 2 weeks at my job for one day to spend 6 hours with them. Wow. I was like, this is real. This is real. This can happen. I can create my own options and my own opportunities. Like, this is real. And that I just said, I got to remove those golden handcuffs. Oof. Oof. They golden for a reason. They were nice and shiny and gold.
Oof. Oof. No, listen, you're saying that. I'm you, because you got me reminiscing, because when I made my decision to leave, the golden handcuffs was coming out, and a good friend of mine, he was like, it always happens like that. He said the golden handcuffs end up showing up when you're about to transition into your next. And so by you saying it, I'm like, oof. So this is, and for those of you who are listening, you have to have, This is where, in my opinion, faith comes in at, and you need to have the ability of discernment. Because here's what happens, and Charlene, you let me know.
Mm-hmm.
What I have seen happen is that when we make a decision to make a move,
Mm-hmm.
something happens, and it seems like the new option is always better.
Mm-hmm.
And then we move in that direction of what we think is better. And then once we get to better, we're like, God dang it. What I originally said, what I needed to do, I should have moved that way. But as a result of not moving and changing my mind, we end up being in confusion longer. Versus
Mm-hmm.
if we trust our instincts, if we have faith in ourselves, in the new direction we're going, because we are going to be a seed. I think that's one of the most humbling things is being okay that when you're going into a new direction, you are going to be a seed, but that does not negate everything else that you have learned and mastered.
100%.
Right? What? Okay, so tell everyone about what is your new business? What did you transition into?
Yeah. So right now I serve two audiences. The first audience is the group of people who are currently in their 9 to 5. They don't necessarily want to leave the 9 to 5 like right now, right? But they want to create a structure. They want that 6-figure business. They feel as though that's a different story. They feel as though they need to, because you don't always need to. Okay. Sometimes we don't lack clarity. We mask clarity with not having courage. Okay, nothing to do with clarity. Have some
Facts.
courage,
Yes.
right? But it's for those people who like they need to like build this business, get it to 6 figures or whatever their number is before they leave the 9 to 5 job, so that machine that they're building is the clarity, is the confidence that they need to give them the momentum to make a decision. The second group that I help are people who are already at the multiple 6-figure mark. And at this point and at this stage, they don't have a 9 to 5, but they understand that in order for their business to grow, they have to incorporate something called leverage, which means they need to remove themselves almost 100% from its operations and at least 50% from client delivery, client fulfillment. So how do we use their business assets, systems, and a team to help them do that so that they can be the visionary of their business to take it to whatever that next level looks like for them? So those are the two those are the two models that I have in my business. And that's what I'm doing right now, helping those two groups of people make a decision, like take a different set of action and make a different decision so that they can get to their next, whatever that is for them.
How did you get clarity on what business that you wanted to start? I've asked you this before. Like I was like, well, how come you didn't do this one? How did you get clarity on where you wanted to move?
Alignment of vision. I'm a very firm believer that we have to have a vision for our life, our business, and our family. And the vision you have for your business needs to fit into the vision for your life or family. It's not the other way around. And when you do that, what I do is I reverse engineered what that looked like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Like, what does that look like for me every day? And then every decision that I make, every goal that I make, every action that I take is always being bounced up against what that vision for those 3 areas are. And if it wasn't, I removed it. Like I started off as an agency. I started off as a project management agency because that was aligned to the work that I was doing in my 9 to 5. I felt comfortable with that, but comfortable don't mean aligned. But it took time for me to figure out what I didn't want to do. It took over a year for me to figure out that I did not want to do that. Although I was good at it, it wasn't the business model that was aligned to the vision that I have for my family and for my life. So because of that, I decided to move away from that business model as it being the main thing, the main source. And then I moved into something that for me was more of a movement and more of an impact that would still allow me to do what I wanted to do in my life and with my family.
I love that. So what I love that you talked about, which was I think is great, is one is moving into what you were doing, whether or not if it was in alignment or not. The fact is that you had the courage to shift because you knew in the 9 to 5 you didn't, that wasn't going to be, that's not where you wanted to be. And then shifting into what you know, which is fine. And
Yeah.
then during that time processing, like, okay, what is it that I really want to do? And having another vision of your life that's in alignment. You said with family and what did
Life.
you, and life. And that is perfectly okay. What um advice would you give people who are afraid to, they start out doing something, they're like, I'm afraid to change again.
Mm. I would tell them, I give that tough love, Uche. So because we're so brilliant and we have so much in us, right? That I have to give you the tough love. Because sometimes when we say, I have to change again, it has nothing to do with us. It's nothing to do with you. I have to change again. And it has to do with how other people are perceiving you, what other people will think, the people who you told your dreams to, the people who you told your next steps to. What are they going to do if I change it again? Right? But if it's between you and God and you just moving in faith, you can change it 100 times. It's nobody's business. If you have to change it 101 times, you pivot and you do that in order to walk in your purpose and your potential. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or what they say. I believe that we've been conditioned through schooling and society and all the things to ask permission, to seek permission. Right? Is this a good idea? Should I do this? If I don't do this, what will they think? People out here, listen, this is going to be real tough. I had to say to myself a lot of times, Uche, people don't care as much as you think they care. People not checking for you. They not looking for you. They don't care about what you're doing, but they ready to talk about you, right? When you're not making success or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, people don't care about the things that you are doing. So if you focus on what you've been called to do, if you focus on what your vision is, what it is you desire to do for whatever your reasons are, don't look left, don't look right, because they're not checking for you. But we allow ourselves to look left, look right, look up and down, thinking in our head because of all these trauma, because of us not feeling like we are worthy of it or we are not as good. We let all these things come up in our brains, which stop us from taking action, from pivoting, from shifting, from changing when nobody is checking for us. So if we remember that, and we humble ourselves, because that's a humility thing. If we just remember that, just do what you got to do. And if you got to pivot 10 times, you pivot 10 times. And that's just what it is.
That is such great advice and such great insight. A lot of us, we will stick with something, even though it's not what we need to do or need to be. Because one, fear of what people are going to say, two, feeling like a failure, three, or just afraid and say, okay, I've done this. This is like my fifth one, or fourth one, or my second one, and it didn't work. So give yourself some grace. And Cherline has provided a lot of great insight and really wisdom in terms of who we're really battling with. And oftentimes it's ourselves. When she says no one cares, she ain't lying. They don't care. Now they will be quick to criticize, but they don't care. And
you may have more people rooting for you than you think. They may not be saying anything to you, but there are strangers rooting for you.
Listen,
your enemies are silently rooting for you.
Listen,
you just don't know.
When I tell you, once you never know who watching you. And when you post something, you're like, wait a minute, I didn't even know that they was paying attention to what I'm posting. Okay, let me So it's very true. People are silently um, rooting for you and criticizing you and praising you as well. But like the biggest message is just keep moving forward.
100%.
Okay, so what advice, before we go off, that would you give our listeners for anyone who is who know that they need to shift, who wants to transition out of the workplace? Actually, what advice would you give anyone who has a business right now and they know they need to do something different? They haven't had the courage because they're like, okay, I know I need to do something, but I'm afraid if I switch it up, especially during what is happening in today's economy. What advice would you give them right now?
One a good piece of advice that I want to share is we have to understand that what we see, other people's success is a product of 10, 15, 20 years. And you're potentially comparing yourself to somebody's 20 years when it's your
Oof.
3 months, 60 days, or the first 3 years. And especially if your business is online, like an online business with social media, all you will see are byproducts and results of the perseverance, challenge, sweat, shifts, pivots, bankruptcies, quitting, but you don't see those things I just mentioned. You see the result of those things. So what I would tell you to do is to understand that if you want somebody's 20-year success, you have to put in the work for 20-year success and ask yourself, are you willing to go through the things they went through to get there? And if you're not, that means you may have to do things differently. You may have to be unboxed when it comes to your thinking. You have to, I like this phrase, you have to become, you have to run your business and the things that you do. You have to become an entrepreneurial scientist, or you have to use what I like to call the entrepreneurial scientific method. You have to be willing to use the entrepreneurial scientific method, which is the hardest thing that any new entrepreneur or any growing entrepreneur has to be willing and open to do. The scientific method, you get a hypothesis, you observing, you're collecting data, you are testing, you are trying it out, you're allowing the data to tell you a story, and then you are making decisions based on that story. And that one hypothesis does not become the result, right? You do it again and again and again until the hypothesis proves that it works. It's consistent regardless of what you throw as an input or output, what's happening in the system, out the system. And then you run the reps. But that does not take a year, and it may not take 3. It's a process. It's you becoming a seed that becomes a baby tree, that becomes a big tree that produces green leaves, and then the branches produce fruit. And then those fruit have seeds and does the whole process again, but all you're seeing are the fruits of everybody else's seasoned trees. But you got to be willing to be the seed, go through the entrepreneurial scientific method, and go through the phases and cycles until you get what it is that you desire, regardless of how much time it's going to take. Facts. Timing don't matter. It don't matter how much time. You just do it. Facts. Right?
Yes. She just dropped a whole bunch of nuggets. Make sure you get your notebook, pen, get your phone, get your notes. It is, yeah. So it's just one last comment on that. I was in my coaching program, and someone in the program, they were talking about how, like, I've been doing this and it's not working, and my coach said, you look really frustrated. She said, I've been doing this for 4 years and I made no money. And he said, keep going, because I see the intensity in your eye. He said, you ain't gonna like to hear this, but right now you're about to go into a new leaf. You're about to transition. And he said, when I started, I didn't make my first sale for 2 years. And I just thought that was like, I was like, what? And he said, and I didn't make six figures for another 14. He said, when you see me, you're seeing someone with 35 years of entrepreneur experience. And he was like, so have grace on yourself. And I think, and Charlene, you let me know, I think it's because um, during the pandemic, when there were so many people on the online space saying, showing their bank accounts, right? Right.
Yeah.
About how much money was being made, how they was able to make money. And let me say this, even with me, I had started my business, and when you were going on those platforms, because it was such an influx, you were able to get in rooms with massive amount of people, 1,500, and able, especially in your area of expertise. And if you had something to sell, you were able to articulate that, and people gravitated to you. It is not the case now. And I see people becoming discouraged, because I was one of those, because it's not like it used to be. And people were marketing like, oh, I made $100,000 in 30 days. And I was like, what you do? Because what you saying you did is not enough. But maybe it was. But right now, this is not where we are now. It's not what it was 2 or 3 years ago.
I'm so glad you said that, Uche. I'm so happy you said that, because what we have to also realize and understand is that a lot of people who making all this money, who've been working for 10 years, trying, and it didn't pop, they just got their success during the pandemic.
Oof.
They're 10 years of working. Your favorite coach during the pandemic is when they got the million. Why? Because they were prepared when opportunity happened. So right now, you don't see the results. The fruit isn't bearing, like your tree is not bearing fruit right now. That's okay. You are in preparation stage, because when the opportunity presents itself, a global pandemic, something in your area, something shifts, and you will never know when it's going to happen, then the door will open for you. The problem is we don't allow ourselves to sit in the space of preparation long enough so that when the opportunity comes, the floodgates of heaven open up and all the blessings are poured. You bow too early. You bow too early. You bow too early. So if that's you, abandon your bow. It's not time. Abandon the bow. Continue preparing, doing what you have to do, put in the work, whatever it is. And when opportunity presents itself, the blessings, I promise you, will be showered. And sometimes it's not what you're doing that's wrong. It's just the opportunity hasn't presented itself yet. That's it. That's it.
And for those of you who in Kojic, that right now will be dancing with a tambourine all over the and that is the word, and I don't think anything else needs to be said. Charlene, thank you so much for joining us.
Having me. Thank you.
Leap Forward with Uche today. And we're going to put her information inside of the description where you can contact her, especially those of you who are working a 9-to-5 and you're looking to start a business and trying to figure out how you can transition your skill set. And for those of you who are already in a business and you're trying to figure out how to work on your business and not in your business so that you can scale and enjoy it more. So we'll put her information in the description. And everyone tell Charlene, thank you. Charlene, I'll be back with you in a moment. So that was such a great session. But again, what I want to remind everyone is on February 28th, we're having a 2-hour intensive to teach you how to start your business with zero experience. If you are looking to start your own consulting agency, or if you have a book or you're doing speaking engagements and you're trying to just figure out how to get clarity in what you were doing, you don't understand how to get your target audience, how to even do a comprehensive market analysis. If you don't understand any of that when you have zero experience, what I want you to do is to join us on February 28th. The link will be in the comments. And again, this is Uche Maple, your leadership and development strategist. and have a great one. See you till next time.